more simplified forms first. We'll start there. And so if we think about the bottom half of the body, right, what we were talking about in those first weeks was, greater trochanter pubic symphysis to the bottom of the foot was half our figure height. In between there was our knee. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to make 2 marks, 1, 2, in the middle. That's going to be our knee. And then what I want you to do for these out-of-class drawings or online drawings this week is I'm just going to, you're going to be very boxy. So, and this is a back view, by the way, sorry. And so you're going to be very geometric, very boxy, but what I want you to, and let me finish this off before I haul off and start talking. And so what I want you to pay attention to, we're going to stay very geometric, but I want you to look for these overlaps. And this is back view, so this is something that we'll specifically see in the back. Is basically at the knee, we have these tendons kind of reaching across the joint. And so the way I can kind of express this geometrically is it's almost like in woodworking you have like a dovetail joint. Something like that. And then this goes up in here. And this is where we're going to bring our dowels back this week. So these tendons reach across that knee joint, and we're going to, you basically have this almost like this insertion of the leg into the thigh. And then we have the same thing happening here at the ankle. So I just want to point out, then we have this is like the back here. So we have back and then side. Same down here. Fair enough, right? another thing to point out about these joints is the kind of the orientation of them, and there's a lot of kind of confusion through the through the ankle and the foot because you do have there's that's ankle's kind of like this gliding joint, and so things can we can stand like this, kind of shift on our ankles, right? But what I want to point out is, basically within the leg, and I'm just kind of drawing the same thing from the front. In a more simplified way. Is just like we talked about with the elbow and the wrist, these two joints, these two dowels, those are going to stay parallel. Even if, the foot kind of shifts one way or the other, these will stay pretty consistent. And then the hip, that's a ball and socket joint. So that means, our leg can kind of kick out this way. It can come in. It can swing up. But these two, again, are going to stay parallel. Now, in the ankle, you have what's called, you have on either side the malleoli. I'm not sure the plural. You have the lateral malleolus and the medial malleolus. We're not going to worry about those terms. And so basically, if I draw like a foot from the front, something like this. And I go like this. So this is the inside, and this is the outside of the foot. This is my big toe here, just to give you some orientation. So the bone points there, the one on the inside is actually higher up, and you'll see this straight away when we start drawing from the model today. And then this one's lower. But, what we're going to do is we're going to kind of hit that in the middle. And our dowel is going to be doing something like that. And I will, we'll get a little bit more into the ankle when we look at hands and feet. So don't worry, too much about that. But just remember, with this idea, basically we have again, this sort of dovetail form, like something like that. And then the foot down here. And again, we'll talk more about this next week. Get a beautiful big toe on there. Yes, I was worried about that. I was like, I knew he was running out of space. And I'm going to move this as well on the screen. And so basically this, this sits down on top of here, and I'll redraw it in gray. But that'll sit there. So yeah, I just want you all to kind of look for those relationships today. So Wednesday, when you're doing your out of class drawings, your online components, just look for, this kind of simplified expression. And in class today as well, right now I'm going to go over some of the kind of the muscle masses. Um, but you can, as long as you're paying attention to the interaction of the joints like last week, that's kind of our focus here. All right, so good so far. And I'll zoom out so I have a little more paper to work with. So I'm going to take this drawing and move it over here a little bit. So that's the view we're looking at here. So again, I'm going to build this, and maybe I'll try to give myself a little bit room for the pelvis. But again, this is spoiler alert, this is going to be a greater trochanter. So greater trochanter to bottom of the foot, and then I'm going to hit center on that. And so I'm just kind of working in some kind of masses for us to build on. So I'm going to start up at the hip and work my way down. And let me just build out the pelvis a little. Put this box here. Tip it forward. That might be too tall. Anyways. Okay. So what's hitting at this point here? This is our good friend, the greater trochanter. And then at the front edge here, this is that 3-finger gap. We might be able to see that there. And then you essentially have 1, 2, 3 muscles kind of fanning out above the greater trochanter. You have, so here, this one in blue. So here we have tensor fascia. Do that backwards or upside down. So that's going to be like this sort of like teardrop shape. And that's actually going to tie into the IT band here. And then moving back, I'm going to warm my colors as we advance towards the viewer. Above the greater trochanter, this kind of like fans out something like that and runs along that crest of the pelvis up here. That's our gluteus medius. And then with red, I'm going to put the gluteus maximus in. And so the gluteus maximus, it actually reaches across kind of underneath greater trochanter here. And then reaches across the back of the pelvis, like so. And then here, at this front edge to work down into the thigh, we would actually see, a little bit of what's called vastus lateralis here. So we can kind of bump that there. And that actually, reaches down a little closer to the knee. I'll leave it up there. And so basically we have like this sort of like tendinous break here. And then those ligaments, like I said, they reach across the knee. And then I'm gonna very much simplify this form. Is just kind of this flattened, almost like almond shaped kind of dome like this. So these are the, well, I'm gonna kind of split in the middle. But these are the kind of the bellies, and they do kind of move up into here a little bit. But these are the hamstrings. And they kind of turn in, they're a little more like tendinous down here. And then we have soleus and gastrocnemius coming out here. So that's here on our simplified form. So again, we get this sort of like rounded form here, and then that turns into tendon as we approach the ankle. So I'm again going to throw my dowel in here. At that knee. And I just want to emphasize, I'll do this in mechanical pencil, but this overlap here. And then we'll see a little bit of a bump here because of the anterior muscles of the leg. And then I always, it's really helpful to see the foot as like, more kind of like, don't get distracted by like toes and stuff. But this is kind of our overall structure that we're going to look at and expound on that next week. This almost like kind of angled, like kind of pyramidal form. And then I'm going to leave this pretty blocky on this side. And I just want to point out that on the inside, there's another kind of one of these masses, and that's the adductors. So those are responsible for bringing your leg in like this. And then what I'm doing to build the gluteus maximus in here is I'm again reaching around to that side. And it almost like kind of rounds the corner. It's kind of, almost corner form here. And then gluteus medius here. Well, yeah, maybe more like that. And so what I get here, and you can't really see it here, is basically, depending on the build of the person, there's usually kind of like a depression here leading to the greater trochanter. You'll see that it'll, if there's like a lot of flexion in the, or, sorry, extreme abduction. If you move your leg like this, it'll often get like a little crease there between around where the greater trochanter is. And I'm just going to clarify things with the mechanical pencil. Alright, and then I'm just going to do a front view. And then we'll do some drawing from the model. So I'm going to throw some big obnoxious lines here just to remind you. Parallel, parallel. Remind myself too. All right, and so what's happening with the bones here? So here's our three finger gap. I'll talk more about that in a second. Three finger gap. This is like our pelvic, pelvic speedo here. Pubic symphysis here. So just to give you some bearings on the pelvis I've drawn. And so what we saw here is tensor fascia. So that's going to sit on the outside here. And connecting with that IT band that runs down the lateral side of the leg. And so what's happening at that gap at the top that I keep talking about, that three finger gap, is if here's here's those spines in the pelvis. This will make sense in a moment. We have tensor fascia on the outside here. And then we have sartorius, which actually, if I draw the rest of the thigh in, that's the one, if you remember from the charts earlier, that's the one that's like a ribbon that basically kind of curls down here and crosses the knee crosses the joint at the knee. And so basically what we have here is like this depression that kind of forms like that makes this sort of like flat form on the front of the pelvis. And then, so we have IT band here, and then coming out, which I'll draw over here in a moment, from there are the quadriceps. So we have the three main forms here. This one does kind of split in two, but don't need to worry about that. And then here we have those the adductors. And then this is gluteus medius and greater trochanter here. Okay, so to draw the quadriceps again, and you have, let's see, let me look at this. You have vastus medialis here, which actually gets really close to the knee. Something like that. In the middle, you have rectus femoris here. And then vastus lateralis here. And so this is sort of a front form. And these are kind of corner forms. Yeah, if I throw some cross contour in there, let's see that a little bit better. And then jumping back up the hip, we again have gluteus medius here. It kind of looks like a fan or like a seashell a little bit. Take this part out and substitute that for the greater trochanter. And then again, gluteus maximus here. And so what's happening at the knee here is that the femur, you know, we almost do have this actual, like, it's almost like cylindrical at the bottom and flattens here. And I'm gonna draw it in the position I have it here. So it kind of angles in here. Draw those parallels. And then we have like this little bit of a depression in here. For the patella. And then I'm gonna draw the tibia in here. And then the fibula. And then we have the patella right here. And so what I'm going to do is basically like pull this kind of stripe here and then run that down the front of the shin. little bit of bone here. And this is pretty well covered with muscle on that side. And then we're just looking for that, you know, we could even put it in as like a triangle there, patella here. You know, below that we have like that kneeling point on the tibia. And then there's like a pack, some anterior muscles here. Let me make sure I'm drawing that right. Yeah. Yeah, because we have a little bit of that shin bone here. And I'm just going to kind of clarify some of these overlaps with the mechanical pencil. First, there's like that shin bone. Here's those overlaps of the tendon. And then here, you know, I'll just do some cross contours so we can look at, you know, some of those forms. You know, something like that. And once we get down to the leg, you know, this will come around. It's kind of a corner form, kind of flattens out here, and then goes back around. All right. And so, you know, we can add this stuff, you know, all day. You know, we have top here, side here, inside, bottom. So, you know, we can kind of add that stuff all day. But, you know, mostly what I want, and I'll just draw it really small here, you know, is to see, you know, we're kind of breaking it down to like most, you know, necessary information. You know, something like that, looking at it, you know, front, side, front, side. And then, you know, I can say, we can kind of look at these forms like across, you know, across joints. So here, you know, this is all kind of side form, this is front form.